Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and it looks like we got some good news, y'all. Looks like we may have escaped a few injury scares. We're gonna dive into all of that. Also, I have a few reasons just to talk a few people that may be trying to jump off the cliff over that last preseason game. I already broke down a lot of the reasons why you shouldn't be too worried about it in my full breakdown of what went down in that game, but also have a few more points from a few other people that I want to bring up that I felt like were good reasons as the, hey man, it's really not that serious. Also, just a few other updates. It's like sort of a Rico report. We're going to bounce around from topic to topic, but it's generally all focused around what went down in that preseason game on Friday night. But without further ado, before we get into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video. Stay tuned. Of course, I will be live streaming that upcoming Bengals preseason game on the 18th. And again, if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you better go ahead and get them now, because all four of us Commanders Kings will be at Crystal City Sports Pub on August 24th. Live in person. This is gonna be my first time meeting either of those three other Commanders Kings in person ever, so make sure y'all pull up for that. That's gonna be a special moment. Without further ado, let's go and dive into the video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, shouts out to Donna Hopkins for uploading this clip right here of Coach Dan Quinn and General Manager Adam Peters walking in after the game. They were clearly not happy. And so if you're worried about the Commanders coaches in front office, you know, treating this like, it was just preseason, nothing to really worry about, well, just to let you know, they were very upset with how that game went down. And I mean, that's what you kind of want to see from those guys. Again, after we get through the injuries and we talk about a few things at the end, I'm gonna give you the talk you off the cliff points that I feel like that a lot of y'all may need. But at the very least, you see that your head coach and your general manager are probably just as upset as y'all are. Now, maybe it's for slightly different reasons than y'all are, but they were clearly not happy with the way things went in that game. And like I've already told y'all, my main takeaway, if I had to worry about one thing from that preseason game that's actually gonna matter in the regular season and postseason, was how atrocious our special teams were. And shouts out to Seawall Sports. She even brought up a point that, yeah, it's just preseason, and that is an upset Commanders team tonight though. Preseason, but it's obvious this game's performance was far below the standard that they had been set, and Dan Quinn and Adam Peters clearly showed that. And Dan Quinn even spoke immediately after the game, and he said, quote, "If you get your A word kicked and we're in the fight the whole time, I can live with that. I can live almost with any result when you put in all that you can put in and do it right. But when it's sloppy and not to the standards, man, that really burns my A word," unquote. So it was more so the process than the result. And I always try to emphasize, especially with the preseason, but generally with a lot of things in life, like as long as the process is good, especially in sports, typically you're gonna get the result that you want. So really focus on the process, and sometimes the result may not come out exactly how you want it, but as long as the process is good, you can live with the result. That result was bad, but also most importantly, the process was terrible. It was the way that we went out that made it so bad. It's not how we went out, it's the way that we went about it. Awful. And Dan Quinn even highlighted performances from Tre'Navian Amos, Josh Connolly, and Johnny Newton. So those are three people that really stood out to him. And I really want to re-emphasize basically from my video breakdown of what happened in that preseason game is that overall it was a really ugly game. But the guys that we wanted to step up and play well, they did. Tre'Navian Amos, Josh Connolly, and Johnny Newton, all guys that we had our eyes on, play well. Of course, Jakory Brooks had a good game as well. But then he also said, otherwise, yeah, not ideal, especially 13 penalties. Quote, "In all three phases, it was sloppy tonight," unquote. So again, I want to just give y'all that to let you know that Dan Quinn and Adam Peters are not walking away from that saying, hey, it's just preseason. Nah, they're about to be worked for these next 10 days leading up to this August 18th Bengals preseason game. I promise you, we're probably going to kick things up another notch in practices, because we've had really good training camp practices to where we're like, okay, this defense looks good, this offense looks good, and things like that. Then we go to that joint practice, and from what I've heard from people that actually got to really see it for real, we overall won it, especially when it was starters versus starters. It looked like we were the better team. But then we get to this preseason game with all of the bright lights, and now granted, they did play way more starters than we did, but at the same time, it shouldn't look like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure we're about to kick these practices up a notch, especially Larry Izzo with the special teams. Oh, that was highly unacceptable. Oh, the special teams is about to go through it, which is, it's just crazy to me, because we had one of the best special teams units in all of the NFL last year, and all we did was add upgrades this offseason, and suddenly we got way worse. I think it was a mix of nerves and just a lack of actual effort and consistency. I feel like ultimately we're going to get back to where we were and end up being a really good special teams unit, but I mean, that was terrible. But now getting on to the injuries. First of all, the injury that I was by far the most concerned about. That boy Jakory Brooks, aka Lil Bill. Apparently, he said it himself that his shoulder got checked out, but everything was fine. He came down hard on it, but everything should be good to go. And so that tells me that, first of all, most importantly, Jakory Brooks, he should be good to go. Like, thank goodness, because he was showing some real potential and talent in the just very few plays that he was in the game. But also it tells me that once his shoulder got banged up even a little bit, the fact that they pulled him shows that they really value this guy, and he's not just some random backup running back. This is a guy that they expect to contribute on Sundays as soon as week 1. He may not be your RB1, but he will be one of your RBs going into that week 1 game, and I'm expecting him to get carries and snaps against the Giants immediately. I think because I mean, if it was just a random run, and I love Chris Rodriguez, and even, you know, Demetric Felton had some moments, but if they get hurt, unless it's like a super duper injury, you know what I'm saying, they probably throw them back out there, like we'll see, like, you know, go out there and try to prove yourself type of thing, earn a roster spot. But Jakory's roster spot is clearly safe, because as soon as he got any small tweak that apparently isn't serious at all, they were like, nah. If anything, we're going to be overly cautious with this guy. Make sure we secure the fact that he's good to go, and we don't want to risk anything long term for any short term gratification. Also, Dan Quinn talked to reporters about Jakory Brooks. He said, quote, "I like the skills we're seeing from Bill." And that kind of rhymed too. "I'm encouraged. He makes plays. He's got quickness. I love the ball security he had tonight. He was really ready to compete," unquote. So all good things to hear about Jakory Brooks from the head coach himself. So that's great to hear. Again, I'm not expecting Jakory Brooks to be the starting running back, the guy that gets the majority of the carries as soon as week 1. But I think at some point in this season, he'll prove that he deserves it. But I mean, he can only do so much in these preseason games to like be able to dethrone Brian Robinson as RB1. I don't think he'll have enough times and opportunities and snaps to do that by week 1 of the regular season. But I think at some point throughout this season, especially when we get some parts and we go against certain matchups where we really need an explosive running back that's a home run hitter that can take it to the house on a deep run, or somebody that can, you know, the wiggle, the jump cutting to make every, you know, the first or second guy miss consistently, that's Jakory Brooks. And it's going to show, man. I'm telling you, he's going to play more sooner than you think. And then also Dan Quinn gave an update on Luke McCaffrey. Apparently he tried to play through an illness, so he was a little limited. Otherwise, there are really no updates on any other injuries. Jakory Brooks did get checked out in the blue tent during the game, but he was good to go. But apparently, Luke McCaffrey was trying to play through an illness, and they knew this beforehand, before the game even started. "Hey, Luke, are you sure you want to do this?" Luke was like, "Yes, please. I want to get as many, you know, reps as I possibly can. I'm not feeling well at all, but I'm gonna try to push through it." And then apparently he just couldn't push through it. So there was no like physical injury to him. We saw that one screen pass that he caught like 2-3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. By the time the ball got to him, 2-3 defenders were already on him. He didn't get to go anywhere with it. I was speculating and worried that maybe he got hurt on that play, and that's why we didn't see him the rest of the game. Because it started from, we saw Luke McCaffrey catch that screen pass, and where has he gone since? Like, we haven't seen him since. Hopefully he didn't get hurt on that one play where he pretty much got jumped in the backfield behind the line of scrimmage. But apparently there was some injury he was trying to fight through. After that play, he tried to give it a go. It was too much for him to deal with, and he was like, all right, I guess I'll bail out. Better luck next week once we play the Bengals again on the 18th. And also, that's really all of the injury updates that we got from Dan Quinn after the game. We have one more that came out like earlier today. Well, technically Saturday, August 9th. We're going to get to that soon, but really, that was it as far as immediately after the game from Dan Quinn or any of the players themselves. Like, again, Jakory Brooks' injury update we got from him, the source himself. And I'm sure that we'll get more details by next practice. So either there were no serious injuries, or at the very least, there were no serious injuries to guys that we expect to play a lot on Sundays. You know, we pretty much went out there with like 99% of backups in that preseason game against the Patriots, but even some of those backups will play significant minutes in regular season games. So it's not like everybody that went out there and played against the Patriots is just somebody we expect to not make the 53-man roster, even outside of Tre'Davious Amos and Josh Connolly. So at the end of the day, it sounds like we should be good to go overall. And even before the game, the injuries that we already had, Dan Quinn made it sound like none of them are serious as well. Like Jordan McGee and Javonte Jean-Baptiste, Marcus Mariota, Noah Brown, all of the guys that never even traveled to New England to participate in the joint practice, to play in the preseason game. None of that. They're making it seem like none of those injuries are serious and we should be good to go. Of course, Samuel Cosmi and Terry McLaurin, pup list, Terry McLaurin contract situation, all of that type of stuff. It sounds like we're still a healthy team overall. I mean, the only real injury update we got earlier today, well, technically August 9th, midday, afternoon, Commanders' Bobby Price apparently suffered a concussion in Friday's game and was in the protocol, but he should be good to go at least long term. He just may have to miss a couple of practices, but that apparently is like the worst injury that we suffered the whole game, and that is pretty good as far as health goes, because, you know, injuries happen, especially in preseason games. We've seen some really bad ones, man. Prayers out there to all of the guys that got seriously hurt in this first slew of preseason games. The Commanders came out as unscathed as you possibly can from just a sport that's naturally as violent as the NFL is, man. But also, moving on, shouts out to George Carmi for uploading these snap counts from the Commanders versus Patriots game. And I have a few observations from these. To let you know, these do not include Trent Scott, Chris Paul, and Michael Dieter, who all played 44 snaps apiece. But if you're looking at these snap counts, first of all, Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman played the most snaps out of any of the offensive players. That's because they're quarterbacks. But also, I thought it was interesting that Tay Martin and Jakory Brooks played the most snaps out of all of the other offensive players. Outside of the quarterbacks, those guys played the most. Not even just out of the wide receivers, out of everybody. And I mean, they made the most of it. We're going to talk about Jakory Brooks soon. Like, he made the most of his snaps. Tay Martin did as well. I already talked about him in my breakdown from like immediately after the game. And then you have next up like KJ Osborne, then Ben Sinnott. I didn't notice Ben Sinnott was out there that much, so I was surprised. Same thing with Cole Turner. I thought Josh Connolly only played like maybe 13 snaps. Apparently, he played like 21. Then you had Michael Gallup, you had Jeremy McNichols, and then Jacory Krosky-Merritt played 16 snaps. And that felt about right, because I saw him out there a lot of the times and he wasn't targeted. He wasn't given a handoff. But a few of those I was surprised, like Jalen Lane. It felt like he was only out there for maybe 2 snaps outside of special teams, but apparently he played 14. So I'm upset, especially with Sam Hartman, because Jalen Lane was out there with Sam Hartman, I believe, the entire time that he ever stepped onto the field. And Sam Hartman, the one time he targeted him, overthrew him, and I don't know what happened outside of that. So I'm going to have to look at the all-22 to know what happened to Jalen Lane. And of course, Luke McCaffrey gave it 11 snaps and was like, yeah, nah, I'm too sick to do this. And then on the defensive side, man, Carlin Vigors, he played every single snap, which is interesting because that means that this organization must really see something in Carlin Vigors. He's had a really good training camp, and then apparently he had like somewhat of a decent or at times good first half, but that second half he got picked on. And just to let you know, those were 3rd and 4th stringers out there picking on him, so that's not a good sign. But this organization, I mean, there must be something there if they played him 57 times. Kane Madrano, he played 55 snaps, and after further review, he actually had a better game than I thought when you saw some of the all-22 clips that some people were throwing out there. I'm gonna probably dive into that in another video, but I thought that was interesting. And really, I mean, my boy Tyler Owens is only out there for 28 snaps, and to be honest, man, the guys that play less snaps are probably the guys that are more likely to play on Sundays because they're trying to protect these guys. So that's a good sign that Tyler Owens is not in the same category, at least defensively. I'm sure he's gonna make the team, because at the very least, he's a special teams ace type of guy, an elite special teamer. But the fact that he played only 28 snaps on defense, you know, compared to, again, Carlin Vigors or even Kane Madrano, Dominique Hampton, Andre Jones, even Noah Benogany, like he played less snaps than Noah Benogany out there. Less snaps than Ben Nickel, Jalen Holmes, Robert McDaniel, all of those guys. So that's good to hear that they kind of put him in the same group as like the guys that will play on Sundays, and they're trying to protect them. Like even Eddie Goldman played 23 snaps. Jeremy Reeves played 20. So he's around there. He's closer to their snap count than some of those other guys that aren't expected to make the team. And then just going back to Jakory Brooks real quick, I didn't even notice like last night when I was doing a breakdown of the game that he caught all 5 of his targets for 59 yards. Tay Martin balled out. Jakory Brooks, the main thing for him was consistency going into that game. I wasn't worried about him having flashes because he's flashed all training camp. He's caught touchdown passes from Jaden Daniels over and over again. He caught a one-handed touchdown catch from Jaden Daniels against the Patriots, or I believe Jaden Daniels threw the ball. I'm not 100% sure, but it was definitely Jakory Brooks who caught it one-handed against the Patriots in that joint practice. And then he goes into the Patriots game. My main thing was, we've seen flashes, but you have a problem with dropping open passes. Like, you'll be wide open slant drop for no reason whatsoever. But then the next play, you'll make a one-handed touchdown catch. Like, what's going on there? We see the flashes. We weren't seeing the consistency. So to hear and to notice that he went 5 for 5 for 59 yards, that is a huge step in the right direction for Jakory Brooks. And I don't feel like, honestly, any of those guys fighting for that 6th wide receiver spot really stood out for real. Like, if you're talking about, if we're keeping 6 wide receivers, the first 5 are locks. Terry, once we get him signed, Deebo Samuel, Luke McCaffrey, Noah Brown, Jalen Lane. Those 5 guys are pretty much locks. Then you have Michael Gallup, Chris Moore with all of those drops. You know, KJ Osborne fairly inconsistent in that game. All of those guys are fighting for one last roster spot along with Tay Martin and Jakory Brooks and things like that. And out of that group of guys that are fighting for that last spot that I just named, Jakory Brooks and Tay Martin easily had the best games in that preseason game. We'll see what anybody else does, though. Now for the talk you off the cliff moments from that game, just in case for some of y'all that are still panicking, you know, overreacting a little bit too much to that Patriots loss, and especially how we lost. Shouts out to MV Scouting on Twitter. He brings up a good point. The Commanders played like 2.5 starters versus the Patriots like 20 plus starters, so no wonder we got smacked, especially in the beginning the way that it went. Linnell Willingham also said that Vrabel had that group jacked up. The Brady statue, you know, that gave him a couple of, you know, extra bars of energy as well. He said that it was hard to match that energy in a preseason game. Now I feel like there's still no excuse. I don't care who they were honoring with a statue. I don't care how much Vrabel got those guys pumped up. There's no reason to go out like that. So I kind of disagree with that one, but that is like a talk you off of the cliff point that you can bring up right there. Then Bleeding Burgundy and Gold said, only positions on this roster I would consider deep is cornerback and quarterback, barring Mariota's health. The rest of the roster is still shallow. Just a reminder that we're still technically only 1.5 years into a rebuild, that the golden boy number 5 just so happened to accelerate a little bit. And I thought that was a good point, that like, really, our roster isn't supposed to be that deep yet. That's kind of like a more of a take a step back and really realize where we are right now and why we're here. We're already a Super Bowl contender, and that's mostly because of Jaden Daniels. It's not because our roster was just spectacular top to bottom and 3 deep at every single position group. That's not the case. But shouts out to Emmanuel Benton. He said, just watched my recording of the game. I stopped at like the 4th quarter. As you know, as a team, it was sloppy. But Bill, Amos, Connolly, Newton, and Sennett all played well. They stood out to me, and they're all draft picks. Something I noticed with Bill that people haven't mentioned much. Also, he protects the ball with 2 hands at contact. He's ready for the moment, man. And I thought that was a good point, though, that Jacory Krosky-Merritt, Trenavian Amos, Josh Connolly, John Newton, and Ben Sennett, some of the best performers from that Patriots preseason game, all of those guys were draft picks. So a lot of the, like, you had some undrafted free agents out there. You had random free agents that we brought in that kind of struggled. But as far as guys they drafted these past 2 years that they've been here since Adam Peters has taken over, those guys played pretty well. And that's a very good sign. Josh Taylor also pointed out the fact that I'm just glad we will see more starters out there against the Bengals next week. Those Dan Quinn practices are probably going to be something leading up to that. I agree with that, man. I think we are supposed to play some of our starters. Like even Jaden Daniels may play against the Bengals. And I promise y'all it's going to look way better than whatever those backups just did against the Patriots. Also, Seawall Sports brought up a good point as well. Reminder, in terms of who plays in the next 2 preseason games, preseason game 2 versus the Bengals, guys that didn't play in that Patriots one will more than likely play. So that's the starters basically. And then preseason game week 3, just to warn you, is going to look more like what that Patriots game looked like as far as a bunch of backups playing. So just to go ahead and have y'all minds in the right perspective for what you need to expect, having reasonable expectations. Yeah, the Bengals game, we're going to have some starters out there. Then you can judge harshly. But a reminder, that Ravens game is going to be backups versus backups, so don't overreact to that one too much. But the Bengals one, if we go out there and look sorry with our starters, then we can start at the panic mode. But I'm still sure that we may not even play a lot of our starters. Like I'm pretty sure guys like Bobby Wagner and Von Miller, and maybe even Laramie Tunsil may not play against the Bengals. We'll see. But remember last season, last preseason, last year, Bobby Wagner, I don't think ever took a single snap. Like, there were certain guys like Deron Payne, I believe, didn't take a single snap. Jaden Daniels went out there for like one possession, you know, things like that. So we'll see how much the starters actually play against the Bengals. But I'm telling you, I'm letting you know that, you know, that game against the Bengals, you can kind of judge a little harshly, but don't go too far, because I'm pretty sure we're not going to go out there 100% ready. All of our starters out there. I'm pretty sure a lot of the veterans may still even sit out of that game, even if Jaden Daniels does play. But yeah, man, that's it in this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if everything discussed in the video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. The main catalyst for this video was to update y'all on Jakory Brooks' injury along with Luke McCaffrey's, but I felt like since we were here, we might as well go ahead and talk about a few other things. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please make sure you leave a like on the way out, and I'm appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later with some more videos. Right now, it's like 12:55 a.m. going into Sunday, August 10th. I will be coming out with more videos later on today, especially if the Commanders practice. Y'all know I'm gonna do a breakdown of that, but even if they don't, I have a few other video ideas that I want to work on, so make sure you stay tuned for something at some point today, as in Sunday. And I'm gonna catch y'all later. Leave a like on the way out. I'm out.